All right, so this is my scene analysis for the scene where Doc Holliday meets Johnny Ringo. It's from the film Tombstone, 1993. The beginning of the scene, it basically sets up the arrival of the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are the antagonists of the film. You can tell them because of the color, and that's one of the things I noticed is that a lot of the colors in this film are muted except for the two reds. Also, while I'm on the topic of visuals, the set design on this and the costumes are really fantastic. Every character has their own unique costume look, their own way of wearing their pistols. You'll see that for Doc Holliday. He's got it more on the waist. Let's see if I can find. I can't get to that right there, but you'll get it. It's more along on his waist. I think you see it when he holsters. Yeah. So he's got pocket watches and ties, and just a lot of detail was done to costume design and character looks. In addition, everyone's got their own mustache. There was a little bit, and each mustache is unique. Each facial hair is unique to the character. That one's Wyatt Earp's. That's Johnny Ringo with a little bit underneath there. Doc's got his own look with a kind of a pointy tips and a little bit of chin hair. So those are some of the things I noticed about each character. Doc's got some scenes where he looks a little more pale and sweaty, and in a couple of the shots, you almost see like a red around his eyes because he's got tuberculosis. So that's one of the ways that they're capturing the sickness of the character, but probably also the level of intoxication that he's got. Some other scenes that I just thought were really interesting, even though I didn't mention it. There's a scene where they are talking to each other in Latin. I'll just give you a little sample of that just before the guns are drawn. They're kind of taunting each other. Here's that scene.
Reminds me of me.
So they're switching from English.
No, I'm sure of it. I hate him.
He's drunk.
In vino veritas.
There's the first Latin reference. So they're going back and forth. And in that scene, you could also hear like a musical note, which they were using to increase the tension as it ramps up. Just kind of looking through my notes here, that was the background news. In terms of sound and music, kind of coming back, and then I'm circling around. You hear a lot of sounds in the background. I think that a lot of people are starting to pay attention to this because they know there's a confrontation, but they're still trying to go about their day. So it's not dead silent. But I think that as the scene escalates, it gets more quiet, but you still know that there's things happening around them too. Plus, there were clicks when the gun's drawn or the hammer's pulled back. Those are some good sounds. The crowd cheers somewhere in the scene. So kind of moving on, I think I talked about all of the costume elements and lighting and color. The lighting in the scene was fairly dark and very muted. Again, there wasn't a lot of bright, vivid colors. It's a nighttime scene. I believe they had to add a little bit of light to capture these characters' faces, so there's probably an instrument kind of coming down here and another instrument lighting his face from the side. But for the most part, they're not trying to overlight the scene. They just want to make sure you can see the characters. I think I talked about all elements of costume design. Let's focus a little bit on acting. Like one thing I noticed on acting and framing is that you get a lot of these close-ups, and
Now I really hate him.
those are those moments where you're watching a person's reaction, and when Ringo draws the gun, the tension gets up really high. He has a shot, but you see that each character is watching to see what's going to happen next, and at some levels nervous. So it was a good use of close-up to kind of see the tension, and they're all really subtle acting notes that you're getting. So basically what he does is he draws his gun, he flips it around. That's a blocking note. Some excellent gunplay. You just see that whole scene. I didn't show the whole thing. He's flipping it around, and he had to practice it over and over and over again to get it right. So that's a blocking note. Another blocking note that I noticed was this scene right here. They're not moving in and out of the camera, but they're placed in ways that you can see all the main characters. So that's one thing that to consider when you've got a large group, is that it's just like taking a group photo, making sure that there's no one covered up behind and everyone's placed the right way so that scene can play out and you can kind of see from further away what each person is doing. One other thing that I noticed that is related to camera movements, it does cut a lot between close-ups and medium cowboy shots for most of the action, but there was this scene down here, and I think I just found it, Oh no, that's when he's tensing up. A scene early on, just as the conflict's about to brew, and Wyatt kind of sees it coming. So I'm going to roll back just a little bit. So this shot starts on Wyatt's face, and then it booms down to reveal what's happening underneath the table.
I don't know. There's just something about him. Something around the house.
And that's where you know that the tension's like raising. You know that Wyatt's concerned about what Doc's going to do, and he's also concerned about what Ringo's going to do. And at any moment, this could play out in a gunfight. So the fact that there was so much tension and disparity and animosity between the two characters, and then in the end, he has a gun pointed straight at his face, does this little spinning thing to show off, and then the payoff on this scene is that as Doc Holliday sees that, his reaction is basically to diffuse the situation without backing down, and the way he does that is to take the cup. And in a very similar way, kind of mock, but also relieves the tension. You can see it on people's faces that the tension's kind of dying down, and they all kind of accept the joke. And the scene's not over until you see Johnny Ringo himself towards the end. Once he's holstered his cup, and everyone's clapping, and the mood is lightened. He even laughs a little bit at it, and that's the end of the scene. So it sets up a later conflict in the film. So breaking down this scene using the mise en scène, just there's a lot of things that are happening in this scene, and it really sets up the final confrontation later. So thanks for watching my analysis of the scene.